All right, you guys. Hello, happy Monday, and happy President's Day. Today's a great day. We are finally back again. Like I said in my Instagram story, I apologize for the hiatus, but we are back. We have a couple of things on the docket today, including this newest interview that's resurfaced with the sheriff of Pima County, who's the lead investigator in the case against Nancy Guthrie. It is a new interview that happened about 9 or 10 years ago. I think it was 10 years ago. And we also have um, breaking news on this shooting that happened in Rhode Island. I have video, and I will warn you now, it is graphic. Also, Pam Bondi's hearing the Dow is over 50,000. Let's celebrate. So, I want to start off with a little bit lighter news because I understand today's episode. I spent about 2 hours preparing for today's episode. It is dark, in the sense that there's nothing great to talk about. But it does need to be talked about. And so I wanted to start off with actually something funny that I saw on TikTok the other day. And I think it really speaks for how we all feel about this Nancy Guthrie situation. Look at this.
Where the hell is Nancy? Where the hell is Nancy? Nancy is in her 80s. What the hell y'all need with Nancy? Get them their mama back. Right now. And I mean right.
So listen, I think she really speaks for how we all feel in this awful situation. Her kidnapping has been for 15 days now. She's been gone. And I think everybody is just like, why in God's name are you kidnapping an 84-year-old mother who lives in Tucson, Arizona? It makes no sense. And I think everybody feels this way. Like, where the hell is she? Like, what happened? Because they really don't have an identification on a suspect. They barely have DNA evidence. I've heard that they have preliminary results from a DNA test they took from a glove, but that, again, like I just said, it's preliminary, so it's not like they have a ton of stuff to run on here. And so they're not there's nobody that they're investigating, really. But some people that they actually are not investigating, and this came out right before I went live, is the Guthrie family. Look at this statement from the sheriff. It says, a statement from Sheriff Chris Nanos on the Nancy Guthrie investigation. Quote, to be clear, the Guthrie family, to include all siblings and spouses, has been cleared as possible suspects in this case. The family has been nothing but cooperative and gracious and are victims in this case. To suggest otherwise is not only wrong, it is cruel. The Guthrie family are victims, plain and simple. Please, I am begging you, the media, to honor your profession and report with some sense of compassion and professionalism. And so this kind of comes after there was some reports, at least within the first week of her kidnapping, maybe, that the police were at, I think it was Annie Guthrie and her husband Tomas's house. And listen, they could have been there for a number of reasons. No, I don't think the average person thinks that they were there because they're suspects. I mean, clearly the sheriff just stated that they're not suspects, so it's not like they're really. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that. I don't think it's proper to immediately assume that it's a family member who is uh, a suspect in this horrific act. But one thing I wanted to show you guys, and this is something that's super interesting. So about 10 years ago, the Pima County Sheriff's Department, who was led and then it was still Chris Nanos, who was leading this current investigation. His department was under investigation by the FBI for overspending in their use of money. And so I want to show you guys this interview from KGUN, which is the local Tucson affiliate, who also received a ransom note for Nancy Guthrie and in the first week, I believe, of her kidnapping. I want to show you guys this interview because the FBI was probing into this department, and he did not have some kind words to say. Let's take a look.
Am I upset at the FBI? Absolutely. They should be. They get by with saying no comment. Who does that in today's world? Who does that? yet they get by with that. And when this thing's all resolved and the case is all over, I challenge them. I challenge Mr. Black to stand up to that camera by himself and say, we have looked at this investigation and we have exonerated, completely find this investigation to be total BS.
So that was just a small snippet of that interview. In the further, and I couldn't find the full interview, but I did see it on Megyn Kelly's show, and so I know that it exists. I didn't screen grab it because it's her show, of course, and I didn't want to um, copyright that. But essentially, in that interview, he also said that his department, as in the Pima County sheriffs, are quote real policemen. And so he has this thing against the FBI. He doesn't really like the FBI, and I think that's important, and it's very relevant in today's story. So Brian Enton, who is a correspondent for News Nation, conducted an interview with the former I believe it was the under sheriff, so like the deputy sheriff of this department under Chris Nanos. He conducted an interview with him after Nancy Guthrie's abduction, her kidnapping, and it shows this man's ego. Apparently, he has a really bad ego. Let's take a look at this interview.
It should have been recognized initially that once this is labeled an abduction, get a task force together and bring on the FBI and ask them to take it over.
Why do you think that didn't happen?
Unfortunately, the sheriff, Chris Nanos, has an exorbitant ego, and he, in one case I can think of prior to this one, told the FBI he's the better investigator and he doesn't need their help. And that was a critical case that we needed their help with. This one, in particular, they have far more resources than the sheriff's department has.
And he's right. The FBI has a lot more resources than the county sheriff's department has. That's just the way it is. And when you have a case like this, when you have somebody that is abducted and you know they're abducted because the blood and the fact that maybe she left her home, but the blood and the man on the camera indicates an abduction. And of course, the ransom notes are indicative of a abduction. And so when you have an abduction like this, especially of an older woman or an elderly person, you would call the FBI. I would think that where I live, they would call the FBI if I was abducted. And they had this evidence, blood outside my door on the porch. They had a doorbell camera video of somebody entering the home and trying to take down the camera and trying to camouflage themselves with plants. And so you would think that actually, yeah, maybe you would call the FBI. I mean, they are the best in the world. And something that really bothered me was the fact that they are sending their data, their lab data, so the DNA evidence, all of that stuff, to Florida, to a private, I believe it's a private lab in Florida. My thing with this is that, and I was watching Megyn Kelly's show, she had some great guests on, former FBI, former SWAT, former investigative leads and negotiators in these kind of cases. And what they were saying was basically like Chris Nanos, the sheriff, actually said in an interview that it would be a lot of work to split it up between two labs. And that's why they just chose the lab in Florida when they could have chosen Quantico, FBI headquarters. It would have been a lot easier because now that they have to send this data and this lab analysis or whatever in Florida, they have that in Florida, then that lab in Florida has to request to the FBI to have access to their DNA database known as CODIS, CODIS. It's a database full of DNA of people that have been, fingerprinted at the police station or victims of or sexual assault criminals. And so that lab in Florida would have to request that data. And to me, that seems like an extra step that is unnecessary. When you can send all that data to Quantico and have them investigate it with their amazing state-of-the-art technology. The FBI is widely known as the best in the world for what they do, and that is investigative DNA and evidentiary analysis, and they're the best at it. And that's just widely known. And so why don't you have the FBI doing that? I think that's weird. I personally think that's weird. And the fact that he has a big ego, and that's what his former under sheriff, deputy chief of police or whatever his title was at the time. I believe he retired in 2023, if I'm not mistaken. Although I could be totally wrong on that. That was just something I saw when I was researching in my preparations for today's show. Is that I think that's weird, and especially, and, he would know him very well. If you're the deputy, you're just like the one person under him who works and directly with him on certain things. You would probably know his personality and what kind of person he is. And the fact that he also said in that interview 10 years ago that the FBI aren't real policemen, it sounds like he has something against them. And I'm not saying that he's a bad person. I'm just saying that he may have something against the FBI so much that he is not letting them take control of this case. The Pima County Sheriff's Department is still in complete control. Yes, they do have people from the FBI. They have people on the ground, investigators, detectives from the FBI assisting, but the FBI is not leading the investigation. And that is where things, I believe, go wrong, because the FBI should be absolutely in full control of this investigation. They are the best. They know the FBI knows everything. I mean, we live in a world where we have this organization, this bureau that knows everything about everyone, basically, and they would be able to do this much faster. In an interview, when Trump was at the White House, he said that while basically that he respects that the sheriff's department is wanting to do their own thing, the locals, he said that they had made much more progress when the FBI got involved. And honestly, I don't disagree with him. I do think that once the FBI did get involved in some capacity, although it's not the capacity that it should be in, they made more progress. And so this, I kind of was bothered by this, and I don't really share my personal opinions, but I was bothered by this. I do think that the FBI should be leading the charge, absolutely, 100%, with assistance from the sheriff's department, of course, but it's the other way around. It's the sheriff's department of this large county that was founded in 1865. It's a very large county. They have a lot of ground to cover, and it was founded in 1865, like I said. And instead of the FBI leading it, it's the county leading this investigation. And so I don't know. I do think that's kind of weird. What are your thoughts on it? Leave it in the comments down below in the live chat if you're watching live. It's not sitting right with me. I don't think it's sitting right with me. So, moving on from that, of course, we are absolutely praying for Nancy Guthrie. I didn't download the video, unfortunately. I'm just now realizing that I actually had a video from Savannah Guthrie's Instagram that she posted she posted yesterday, I believe, and I should have downloaded it. I apologize. I did post it on my Instagram story, if you do follow me on Instagram at Brandon Doggett, but they believe she is still alive. They have hope, essentially. That is what they're saying in that video. And so who knows? Who knows? And of course, I'm praying for their family. And if you guys know anything, you can call the FBI tip line, the hotline, 1-800-CALL-FBI. That would probably be the best to call, just because everybody's backed up. They have tons and tons of calls. I believe I heard a number 13,000 different calls of tips and stuff. And so if you guys know something, this may be a far reach. My audience may not know anything, but if you do, please call, because if you live in Tucson or the surrounding areas, please call. This is a horrific case. 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie, mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie, is missing, and it has been 15 days since she was kidnapped from her home in Tucson. Moving on to something that is darker, unfortunately, I hate to say it, but it is. There was a shooting today at a hockey game. Yes, it was a high school hockey game in Pawtucket, I believe. I'm not sure the exact city, but it was in Rhode Island, excuse me. So I want to show you guys the video of the shooting as it's taking place. I want to warn you guys ahead of time that it is graphic. And if you do not sit well with graphic content, please just wait 30 seconds. The video will be over. But it is important to share with you guys the moment that a person shot at these people in a hockey game in Rhode Island. Right now, we know that 3 people are dead. 1 of them is the suspect. 2 of them are other victims that were at the hockey game, and 4 people are injured. I'm going to show you this video now. I'm warning you ahead of time. It is graphic. It's a horrific incident. It is just a horrific situation. And I pray for the families that were victims of this and their loved ones. I didn't mean to get so dark, but it is important as a journalist, as a podcaster, that I report the news. And so I had to show you guys that video. As you can see in that video, I'm going to replay it again just so we can analyze it here. So as we can see, you can hear gunshots being fired and people are running. The hockey players are running to the side to take cover, I would assume. I think that plexiglass is pretty strong, potentially. And then you can see all of them running. I think once they realized what's happening towards the exit of the hockey rink. It's just a awful situation. And so, again, I apologize if you are sensitive to that. It is important for me to show you guys that as we learn about this situation. It is developing. I think I heard about this right before I started my production of the show, my researching, my video and evidence gathering, which, by the way, I do think I do a lot of videos. If that is something that I do a lot, please let me know. I think it's important, though, because some of the things I can't just quote or explain. I think I have to show the video or the image to not make you guys believe, but just cite my sources, basically. As a journalist, that's something you got to do, and there's journalistic integrity. And so with that, actually, as I just say that, we are going to move into this Pam Bondi situation. We're going to have a quick break here. But after that, we are going to go into what the heck happened at this Pam Bondi hearing. Again, Pam Bondi is the Attorney General of the United States, head of the Department of Justice. And we are going to look into what happened at this hearing in front of the House Judiciary Committee. I believe it was maybe last Thursday or last Friday. I don't know the exact date off the top of my head, but it was last week. And I want to show you guys this. There's a bunch of clips that I want to show you guys, but we'll be right back after the break. All right, you guys, I want to thank you guys for your support in this journey that I've been on. We are 6 episodes into this new adventure that I'm starting. I'm super, super, super grateful for you guys that actually pay attention and support what I'm doing. It means a lot to me. So we want to get into this very interesting moment, this very interesting sort of clash. I called it in the title, I believe it was the Congressional Crash Out of Pam Bondi, because that's what it was. She essentially crashed out in front of the House Judiciary Committee, in specific in regards to Jeffrey Epstein. And so I want you guys to take a look at this video. Ooh, my hair not looking good. I want you guys to take a first this video. It was a compilation of events that happened from CNN, my colleagues over there. I want to show you guys this video, and then we're going to go into a more in-depth video. So here's the first video.
Indicted.
Excuse me, I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question
How?
the way I want to answer the question.
No,
Your
you're going to answer
theatrics
the
are
question the way I
ridiculous.
asked.
I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you. I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, oh, I
anything,
did tell you because we
washed
saw
up
what you did in the
loser
Senate.
Lawyer, not even a lawyer.
So, I don't know. I don't know, you guys. I don't know. Not looking good for Miss Pam Bondi, Miss Attorney General over there. But that first clip with Gerald Nadler, he is a Democratic representative from New York. I want to show you guys a more sort of in-depth video from that moment, because this is a moment where she's talking about the Dow. Oh, the Dow, over 50,000. Let's take a look at that video right now.
So I really have just one question for you. How many of Epstein's co-conspirators have you indicted? How many perpetrators are you even investigating?
First, you showed it. I find it.
How many have you indicted?
Excuse me, I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No,
Your
you're going to answer
theatrics
the
are
question the
ridiculous.
way I asked it.
Chairman
How many have you
Jordan, I'm not
indicted?
going to get in the gutter with these people.
How many,
All right.
my time. The answer to my question, how many of Epstein's co-conspirators has she indicted, is 0.
You sit here and you attack the president, and I am not going to have it. I'm not going to put up with it. And none of them ask Merrick Garland over the last 4 years one word about Jeffrey Epstein. How ironic is that? You know why? Because Donald Trump, the Dow right now is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now.
I mean, you guys, the Dow is over 50,000, and that last minute where she was like, "I hear you're a great stock trader, Raskin." It was comical. I mean, SNL should pick this up. It's funny. It's not right, of course, because that's not the substance of the question that Gerald Nadler was asking. But it's funny, and it makes for a good bit, you guys. Right before she talks about the Dow there, the camera, and this is an Associated Press video, or it's from the Associated Press, I should say. They pan to the victims of Jeffrey Epstein and his horrific acts, and the victims are standing up. And so this is a very important picture, you guys. This photo, and I don't know who took the photo, but it has made its way around social media for sure. And I want to show you guys this photo because it's important, and it's also, in my belief, going to make the history books. Take a look at this photo. So one of the representatives asked the victims of Jeffrey Epstein to stand up if they feel comfortable, of course. But they were sitting in the sort of back row there, as you can see in the photo. They were in the back row. The wall's right behind them, of this congressional hearing. And then they asked to raise your hand if you haven't been reached out by the Justice Department. If the Justice Department has not reached out in regards to your case, your claims or whatever, against Jeffrey Epstein and or the co-conspirators involved in the case. And Pam Bondi does not have the decency to turn around and acknowledge them. And this was a moment. I have looked at people far left and far right, and both sides agree, and this is mainly on Twitter, of course, that this picture itself will undoubtedly go down in the history books. This is a moment where the Attorney General of the United States doesn't even acknowledge the victims of the most well-known, the most, I don't even know how to say this, the most big, the most extreme case of sexual abuse against minors. And she won't even turn around to look at them. Now, her claim about Merrick Garland, it's valid. Okay, it is valid to an extent, I will say, because yes, Merrick Garland absolutely should have either released the files or done something to the co-conspirators legally, of course, to the co-conspirators, but yet he didn't. And I think that's the reason why the Trump administration ran on, or the Trump campaign, I should say, for the 2024 election ran on the fact that they were going to release these files. They said they were going to release the Epstein files, the MLK files, the JFK files. And when it comes to Epstein, of course, he's the most well-known horrific sexual abuser against minors. We all know that. He was convicted of it in 2008 and in 2019. And they ran on that. They said they were going to release them. And then in, I don't even know what month, but early in the administration, when they took office, Pam Bondi said, quote, I have the files, I have the client list sitting on my desk. And of course, a couple of months or maybe even weeks later, they came out and said, no, a client list doesn't exist. And that's what prompted this push to release these files. They wanted to release Thomas Massie, a Republican from Kentucky, and Ro Khanna, a Democrat from California, got together through bipartisanship and put up a vote to release these files. And it was a unanimous vote except one person, I believe from Louisiana. I don't know off the top of my head. Maybe from Mississippi. I don't know. One of them southern states. And it was a fully unanimous vote, basically, apart from one person. I don't know the exact reason onto why he voted no. I'm sure I can research that. I don't know off the top of my head. But one person voted no. The rest of Congress voted yes. It was a complete unanimous vote in the Senate, and President Trump even signed on to this bill. He agreed to it. And so that is why I think that people are so mad, right? They ran on this. They said they were going to release it. Then they said that they had a client list, and then they didn't. You know, the client list doesn't exist, right? Even though it was the client list that was supposedly sitting on Miss Bondi's desk. So this image, and I'm going to show you guys it again, is insane. It's crazy. Just the fact that she won't even acknowledge the victims of this abuse, and the sexual abuse, in the room, in the congressional hearing. She did not even turn back once to acknowledge them. And I think that is very telling of this, where we are right now, what is happening in this administration. But I hate to end it on a note like that. As I said after the break, you know, I am loving doing this podcast, this live series. I think it's super fun to just go live and to report to you guys the news. Tomorrow will be a new day, hopefully. Hopefully we'll have some maybe lighter news, maybe something that maybe brings joy or something like that. Maybe we'll talk about the Olympics, you know. That's the one thing that unites this country. It genuinely is the Olympics. And that's not even a diss. It's real. It's true. the one thing that really unites this country is the Olympics. But we might talk about that tomorrow. We might talk about other things if there's new information in the Guthrie case or the Epstein files or anything else out of the Trump administration or former president. By the way, former President Barack Obama, before I head out, I want to talk about the fact that he was literally like, aliens are real. I don't have a clip, but he was on a podcast and he said that aliens exist. And then he was talking about, oh, but they don't exist at Area 51. They don't exist in underground facilities or bunkers. And then he takes a sip of his coffee, so whatever. But then he clarifies it and he's like, the universe is so vast and it's just like a very vast place. And of course, like there would be life on another planet. Kind of sus, you guys. I actually might bring that into the podcast tomorrow because I think it's kind of sus. Like, I can't even lie. I think it's sus. Maybe something like that. Just like, aliens. Like, maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow. But I want to thank you guys for your support of this podcast. I've really been enjoying it, and it's only going to go up from here. The quality, the even my speaking, it's all going to go up from here. And so, I always think about it like this. Like, it's just like, this is the worst it could be. I'm at the worst possible skill level that I could be at possible. And so everything from here is going up. And so I'm just super excited for the future of this journey that I've been taking. And I love it. It's fun to me. This is one of the only things in my whole life, really, that I've fully just enjoyed and had just passion for doing. And so I want to thank you guys for your support once again. And I will see you guys tomorrow.